Donald Trump just made 6 demands from Malaysia, and Malaysia refused every single one. Here's what's happening right now. Imagine a single demand so massive, it could reshape the economic relationship between two nations. That's exactly what happened when the United States, under the Trump administration, put forth a staggering request: $700 billion in U.S. investments. This wasn't just a number tossed around in negotiations. It was a concrete figure, a monumental sum that would dwarf most international deals. The demand was clear. Malaysia was to channel an unprecedented $700 billion into the American economy. This figure, to put it in perspective, is more than the annual GDP of many countries, and would represent one of the largest foreign investment pledges in U.S. history. The scale of this ask sent shock waves through financial circles, with analysts and policymakers alike scrambling to assess its feasibility and implications. The Trump administration's demand was not just about the money, it was about where that money would go. The proposal outlined a vision for Malaysia to invest heavily in U.S. data centers, fueling the backbone of America's digital infrastructure. Clean energy projects were also at the forefront, with billions earmarked for solar farms, wind energy, and next-generation battery technology. Other American ventures, from advanced manufacturing to biotech startups, were included in the sweeping investment plan. The deal, signed in October, was hailed by some as a bold step toward deeper economic cooperation. For Trump, it was a demonstration of his America First policy in action, leveraging international partnerships to boost U.S. industries and create jobs at home. For Malaysia, the agreement promised access to cutting-edge technology and a stronger foothold in the global market. The signing ceremony was a high-profile affair, with leaders from both countries touting the benefits and shaking hands for the cameras. Yet, beneath the surface, there were murmurs of concern. Could Malaysia realistically deliver on such a colossal commitment? And what would the long-term consequences be for both nations? Despite the initial fanfare, the deal quickly unraveled. Malaysia's government, facing mounting legal and political challenges, brought the agreement before the country's highest court. In a landmark ruling, the Malaysian Supreme Court found significant issues with the terms and process of the deal. The government, led by Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, moved swiftly to declare the entire agreement null and void. Official documents were stamped, press conferences were held, and the world watched as one of the largest proposed foreign investments in U.S. history was effectively erased overnight. The fallout was immediate. Diplomatic tensions rose, investors re-evaluated their strategies, and questions swirled about the future of U.S.-Malaysia economic ties. For now, the $700 billion investment remains a bold vision, one that, at least for the moment, exists only on paper. Demand 2. 19% tariffs on Malaysian exports, a significant reduction from what was initially proposed. Trump forced Malaysia to accept 19% tariffs on its goods, down from the original 47% threat, which had caused considerable concern. Malaysia accepted under duress, then immediately rejected the deal when the legal basis for it collapsed. Demand 3. Buy $240 billion in American products. The deal required Malaysia to spend $240 billion over 10 years buying U.S. airplanes, beef, semiconductors, and other goods. Malaysia's Trade Minister Johari Abdul Ghani said the agreement is now not just suspended, it's null and void. Demand number 4. Exempt U.S. semiconductors from competition. Trump wanted Malaysia to give special tariff treatment to American chips, basically protecting U.S. semiconductor dominance, but Malaysia refused, choosing instead to continue trading freely with China and other partners. Demand number 5. Cut ties with China. Trump demanded that Malaysia pick a side between Washington and Beijing. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim publicly refused, saying, "If Trump asks about our relationship with China, I will say it is very good. They are an important neighbor." Demand number 6. Accept Section 301 investigations. This demand, while sounding technical, carried enormous weight in the world of international trade. Section 301 of the U.S. Trade Act gives the United States government broad authority to investigate and respond to what it considers unfair trade practices by other countries. When invoked, it can lead to tariffs, trade barriers, or other retaliatory measures. For Malaysia, being asked to accept such investigations was not just a bureaucratic request. It was a direct challenge to its sovereignty and economic policies. The implications were far-reaching, potentially affecting everything from palm oil exports to electronics manufacturing, and even the broader diplomatic relationship between the two nations. The context for this demand was complex. When the U.S. Supreme Court struck down President Trump's sweeping tariffs, it created a legal vacuum. The Trump administration, determined to maintain pressure on countries it accused of unfair trade practices, quickly pivoted. They launched a series of new Section 301 investigations, targeting 16 countries in total, including Malaysia. These investigations were not just about economics, they were also about asserting U.S. influence and signaling to the world that America would not back down, even in the face of legal setbacks. For Malaysia, being singled out alongside much larger economies was both a sign of its growing importance in global trade and a source of considerable anxiety for policymakers and businesses alike. But Malaysia refused to bow to these new pressures. The government's response was measured, but firm. At press conferences, Malaysian officials emphasized their commitment to fair trade and international law, while also making it clear that they would not be intimidated by unilateral actions from Washington. Civil society groups and business leaders echoed these sentiments, organizing protests and issuing statements against what they saw as foreign interference in Malaysia's domestic affairs. The issue quickly became a rallying point for national pride, with the Malaysian flag waving outside government buildings and in the streets as a symbol of resistance. The message was unmistakable. Malaysia would defend its interest and would not accept demands that undermined its autonomy. In the midst of this standoff, Malaysian officials adopted a cautious approach. They stated publicly that they would wait for formal proposals from the United States before entering into any new negotiations. This strategy allowed Malaysia to maintain its dignity on the world stage while keeping the door open for dialogue. Behind closed doors, diplomats from both countries continued to meet, seeking common ground and exploring ways to de-escalate tensions. The empty negotiation table, adorned with both Malaysian and U.S. flags, became a powerful symbol of the delicate balance between confrontation and cooperation. As the world watched, Malaysia's stance sent a clear signal. It was ready to engage, but only on terms that respected its sovereignty and the principles of fair trade. So, what does it all mean? In a world where global trade is often dominated by the loudest and most powerful voices, Malaysia made history by becoming the very first country to publicly and directly challenge the trade regime set forth by then U.S. President Donald Trump. This was not just a minor diplomatic disagreement or a quiet protest behind closed doors. It was a bold, public statement that reverberated across international headlines, diplomatic circles, and economic forums. Malaysia's government, led by Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, stood up at a time when many other nations were hesitant, choosing instead to wait and watch. But Malaysia took the initiative, stepping into the spotlight and making it clear that it would not simply accept policies that it believed were unfair or detrimental to its own interests. Of course, the story didn't end there. After Malaysia's strong declaration that certain U.S. trade policies were null and void, there was immediate pushback from Washington. The U.S. government, not used to being challenged so openly by a Southeast Asian nation, applied significant diplomatic pressure. Behind the scenes, there were urgent phone calls, high-level meetings, and a flurry of diplomatic cables. For a brief moment, Malaysia appeared to walk back its statement, softening its language in response to the mounting pressure. But even as the official rhetoric shifted, the underlying message remained unchanged. Malaysia had drawn a line in the sand, signaling to the world that it would not be bullied or coerced into submission. The message was loud and clear, not just to the United States, but to the entire world. Malaysia refuses to be bullied. This was a moment of national pride, a demonstration of sovereignty and self-respect. It showed that even smaller nations can stand up to global superpowers when their interests and principles are at stake. The Malaysian people rallied behind their leaders, with public demonstrations, social media campaigns, and widespread support in the press. It became a defining moment in Malaysia's modern history, one that will be remembered for years to come as a turning point in the country's approach to international relations. Now, why does this matter to you? Because stories like this remind us that the world is shaped not just by the actions of the most powerful, but by the courage of those who dare to speak up. It's a lesson in resilience, in standing up for what's right, and in the importance of making your voice heard, no matter how big or small your platform may be. That's why it's so important to share this story, to make sure that as many people as possible understand what really happened and why it matters. So, I encourage you, Share this video with your family, your friends, your colleagues, and everyone you know. Let them see how Malaysia's stand is an example for all of us. A reminder that change is possible when people come together and refuse to back down. Don't just keep this information to yourself. Make sure you spread it across all your WhatsApp groups. Whether it's your family group, your old school friends, your colleagues, or your neighborhood community, every share helps to amplify the message. The more people who know about Malaysia's stand, the more we can inspire others to take action in their own communities and countries. It's about building awareness, sparking conversations, and encouraging critical thinking about the world we live in. And don't stop there. Share it on your Facebook groups, your Telegram groups, and any other social platforms you use. The digital world gives us the power to reach thousands, even millions, with just a few clicks. By sharing this video, you're not just passing along information, you're helping to create a more informed, engaged, and empowered community. You're helping to ensure that important stories like this one don't get lost in the noise, but instead reach the people who need to hear them most. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel right now. By subscribing, you're not just supporting our work, you're joining a community of people who care about the world, who want to stay informed, and who believe in the power of knowledge. You'll get access to more stories like this, deep dives into important issues, and updates on the latest developments from around the globe. Plus, you'll be the first to know whenever we release new content so you never miss a beat. So, go ahead, just hit that red button. Join us as we continue to explore the stories that matter, challenge the status quo, and shine a light on the issues that shape our world. Your support makes all the difference. Thank you for watching, for sharing, and for being a part of this journey. Together, we can make sure that voices like Malaysia's are heard, respected, and remembered. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and never stop asking questions.